everybody, and welcome to the Godless After Show, the limited series of Netflix. And we are so excited to talk about guns and horses and women, and we have a women-packed panel. We'll be right back.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Wow, West. Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to the Godless After Show. I'm Natalee Dyer. I am your host, and you can find me at Natalee Dyer, Nataledyer on all social media channels. And this is my wonderful panel full of wonderful, amazing women. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell them where they can find you?
Hi, my name's Ashley Sullivan. You can find me on Twitter at AshleySX.
Hey everyone, I'm Mina Wahab, and you can follow me on Instagram at Mina Makes Magic.
Hi guys, I'm Krista, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Krista Flentje.
All right, so we jumped right in because we have so much to talk about tonight and such a little bit of, small amount of time to do it. Guys, a Western for women, in theory. What were your thoughts?
Well, it wasn't really what it was advertised to be to start off with.
It wasn't.
Which was disappointing. You know, I was excited to see, okay, what happened to the men and what have the women done now that the men are gone, and how have they conquered, and they don't really go into that like I was thinking they would.
They don't, which is sad, but it still was an amazing, it's a really good show.
It is a really good show.
It feels like a movie to me.
It does.
It feels like there's the first part and then a sequel later on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like the West, especially in the 1800s, is it's this mythological thing that we use in storybooks and in movies. And what I liked about the show is they don't glorify it necessarily. They make you question things, and they layers, and I really liked it. It's kind of an honest piece of history, I feel like, from what I mean.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And the first scene completely sets up that aspect. They drop you straight into a massacre.
Crazy. Yeah.
And you have a boy hanging from a post.
Yeah, they are not holding back at all with this show.
That scene was hard.
Yeah. There was someone I was listening to talk about, if you look at, kind of the classic Westerns, they don't ever usually get that, dark. This show is dark, like you're saying.
Which it was back then.
Exactly.
But it's not glorified. It's
right.
like cops and robbers and cowboys and Indians. It's brutally honest, there was no law, really. It was unlawful.
Yeah.
It's not really Hollywood fight.
Yeah.
No.
Which was cool.
It was
but
cool.
hard to watch.
Yes. No, each scene I really had that feeling of, there was tension, because you really feel like, what these people literally, they're in a lawless land. You don't know what's going to happen. I was on edge, for most of that show, because you're at any corner, something bad could happen and no one's going to be there to.
Yeah. That's why it was a great opening. I think it was perfect to set it up.
Yeah, I think also from a business perspective, it's super interesting that Netflix would take on a Western, because it's not something you really see as a television show or as something that you have on a streaming network. Usually Westerns are either the old Westerns from back in the day, or films from the Coen brothers, or things that get nominated for Oscars. You don't ever really see a Western in this format. So I'm curious to know what type of audience it's going to draw.
Right.
Because it's very niche. It's not something that you typically see on Netflix or Amazon or any network like that.
Yeah, no, I think it was a kind of a brave move, but from what I've been seeing, people have been pleasantly surprised, by how entertained they've been.
Yeah, I wonder if it was, the intention was because we're in such a turbulent climate politically.
That'd be interesting, I wonder.
It's sort of you have that freedom, and you see lawlessness, and maybe to bring it back to it's
and
not
the
that
female
bad.
part too.
Right.
Female-driven society also ties in with everything that's going on right now.
The whole show is based around this struggle between good and evil. So I can also see how that's totally relevant.
Definitely. So let's just jump straight into our characters. Let's start with Marshall Cook, who is walking through this massacre. What did you guys think of him?
Well, he definitely is kind of the grounding force. You feel okay, he's here, he's gonna save the day, or he's gonna at least be you know, something that's gonna help people or help the characters.
Sure, like a driving force.
Right.
Of the story.
Yeah. He's that representation of the good, you know, in this kind of crazy time.
I almost, like, I wasn't sure, actually, at first when he was on screen if he was, like, immediately, because you see someone walking through a massacred town.
Tough job.
Yeah. So he's interesting, and he's, in my opinion, a vehicle for information.
Right.
Throughout
Yes.
the series so far.
Right. Yeah. He kind of helps us like understand like what's going on and pieces everything together.
Yeah, especially he's such a central part of that opening scene, which kind of is the background story to inevitably what's going to lead up to this confrontation between Roy and Frank. So I feel like he's such a he's like the information holder, really. It's a great way to put him.
I wonder if like there's some sort of parallel between him and like kind of like being a prophet, since he does play this messenger role, because I feel like even in episode 1 you see like so many like motifs and like interesting symbolism, even with the snake that was next to the baby. Like I felt like that was very much like played into what you were saying, like the whole concept of good versus evil. And like with the snake being shot by, you know, the protagonist, you question, well, is he a good character? Is he a bad character? It's not so black and white, and it's so layered. Like kind of like how you were saying, it's not just a one-dimensional.
No, there's so many layers.
Which is really interesting that you say that, because we are immediately set up with Frank as being our big bad guy.
Right.
In the whole series. And as you all know, Frank is kind of crazy. He's the one who did his crew, really.
Yeah,
the lynch,
but he's the ringleader.
He is the ringleader.
Yeah.
But he's very interesting, and he has his
complex.
theories as well. Let's jump into LaBelle and the town there. We're introduced through the ladies and mainly, I would say, the sheriff.
Right.
I think the first shot we actually get of LaBelle is him riding through town after getting a treatment for his eyes.
Yes.
Which I thought was
questionable.
Shit at first.
Wasn't it? I thought
it was mud, I think.
It was mud,
ultimately.
A poultice or
I
something.
hope so.
It was shitty looking mud.
It really was.
He's well, I was discussing this with you earlier. He's got an interesting entrance besides the mud on his eyes. You know, he's rides into town into LaBelle, and he's greeted with literally the women like spitting in the dirt and like sweeping dirt in his face, you know, calling him a coward. So, you know, immediately like my reaction was like, okay, I feel bad for this guy, and like what's the deal?
What did he do?
Well, and it's followed right after him talking to his dead wife.
Yeah. So you're like, ouch.
The show is just grinding him into the ground.
Yes, you immediately kind of you sympathize with this guy, whether you know why he's being treated that way.
Yeah.
And sorry, as we know, the sheriff is going blind, which is sort of really intricate to the whole story plot. And we're introduced to his sister, who Maggie, yes, or
I love
Mary
her.
Agnes.
Does anyone else?
Oh, I love
really
her.
enjoy her.
Yes,
she's the only one, and especially it's so there's a lot of progressive storylines for the 1800s in this show, but she is like the main one. Her whole love life that's going on, and she's wearing the mayor was her husband, her dead ex-husband, is she's wearing his clothes. She's like the gun-toting sheriff when the sheriff's gone. It's just we don't get a lot of the female complexity that I thought we were gonna get with the show, but I like that we get a lot with her.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, I love when Bill is asking her why she's wearing men's clothing, and she's like, have you worn a corset? And if you think about it, like, can you imagine doing all of that labor, the hard labor that
they did? Running around with a gun when you're in a skirt and it was more complex than our dresses today.
Yes.
So
I think about that, but I also think about how the whole, like, did you guys know that the high heel trend started out for men?
Yes.
And
really
transitioned from being like high heels meant for men and then women started wearing heels.
Okay,
So
no, I didn't.
Oh my God,
originally,
I might have heard something. What was it for?
I didn't
like
realize
to give
like
them
we're
extra
talking
height,
like
and it was like for like
It was
the
so-
upper class.
I see.
Like
Wow.
It was also to accentuate their calves.
yeah.
So like when they would bow, they would show their calf because it was like, look at how a great
Natural.
specimen I am.
That is
Yeah.
great.
So men back in the
Right.
day, I feel like, are the way
Right.
LA guys are today.
Yeah. Well,
don't
they
know.
also realize like this is uncomfortable. Like we're
We're
not doing this
this
anymore.
Yeah. So we'll give it to the women.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Take the scrap.
Yeah.
The sheriff also leads us out to Alice, who is another very strong and integral character. I think she and Maggie are our only true, like what we were expecting from
Exactly.
the characters.
Yeah.
She's lived a life, man.
She has, and that was
She's pretty
I love her
intense.
performance. It's so sort of subtle and like kind of understated.
She's very quiet. And
Yeah,
she's
but it-
an
I like
onion,
that
if
because I
anything,
hate overacting. Like, you know, when people like try to get into a role and it's like they get into a character and they do too much. Sometimes I think doing the minimal,
Oh,
like that
absolutely.
understated acting,
So
is
effective.
And it's
Yes.
perfect for her character too. She's very
Yes.
she's quiet, and because she's seen a lot and she's been
Yes.
through a lot. And the more she talks with Roy, he kind of peels little layers, and he's the same way, which is why it's just they work together.
Oh, I
Like,
love
yeah.
their chemistry.
It's great.
Oh, I
Someone
love
else-
it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
I ship them.
I was
I
just like,
really-
totally ship it.
I really,
Sorry, Bill.
yeah, no, I know. I feel bad about
Sorry,
Bill,
Bill.
but
Yeah.
no, I'm all about that too.
Poor
Yeah.
Bill.
I know he's had a rough go of it too.
Yeah. He really has.
Everyone has. Everyone.
It's
has.
the Wild West.
It's godless country.
As beautiful as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So most of episode 1 is exposition, I would say. It's setting up all of our characters. And we've talked about Frank, we've talked about the Marshal, and Sheriff, and Alice, but Roy is sort of our true, he's a protagonist, in a sense. He is entered in, slumped over a horse, and gets shot in the neck. And I think this is my favorite part. He can't talk for like the first half of the episode.
Right?
Yes.
women empowerment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not gonna answer me? All right, I'm gonna shoot you, and now you can't talk.
But he is a very kind soul, and he doesn't try and kill him for shooting him. He's appreciative that they've saved his life.
Yes.
He's a mystery to them and us
Yeah.
as well. Those which is his whole plot line, but just
Right.
everything about him. The
Do you root for
rattlesnake
him?
scene. Yeah.
Do you root for him?
Oh,
I do.
absolutely.
But why?
Yes.
What is it that, like, it's not like he's a good person. The whole backstory of the show is that he
But we
stole
don't know.
money.
But from
a robber.
Frank.
Yeah, from a
Well,
robber.
yeah.
There, you see little moments of him, like if he really did, shoot or like
But also-
push the guys off of the woman who's being attacked in the
That
train.
and the whole reason for what he did was to lead them away from Creed,
'Cause
because
he
is
thought-
what he said. So if he's telling the truth, is because he knew he'd kill everyone, which he did. You know.
He killed a lot of
Yeah.
them. And
I mean-
it was just the intention was to get them away
from
from
the
that
town. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, he's a horse whisperer. Like,
I mean, also, and it's the 1800s, everyone. And his whole
what's
philosophy on
happening?
guns, I just like, he has
Yeah.
a really cool philosophy on guns too, which is weird because he seems to be an expert with them.
right.
Right.
Yeah, he's a very complex guy.
I'm really looking forward to finding out more about that, because maybe he has done something
Right.
like
I
Like
think he's
crazy.
like
unforgivable.
Because
I
he was
think
in
he's trying
his
to
crew.
atone for something. Like,
Right.
I think he lost
agree.
something, and this is his way of making up for it and becoming like a better person. And even in the very beginning of episode 1, like, you see the scene where Jeff Daniels' character is in the church, and he's like, if any of you guys try
Yeah.
to take this guy in, like,
Oh,
you
right.
guys are
Kill
dead.
everyone,
And I
yeah.
almost felt like that was like this ominous, but also like foreshadowing, like, is he going to be affiliated with the church in some way? Like, is there going to be something there where he turns to
Yeah.
religion, or he turns to
Interesting.
something
Well, and
later
yeah,
on?
also he was a part of Frank's crew,
Right.
so obviously if this is what Frank's capable of now, he was with them when they've done other unthinkable things,
Absolutely.
so I'm sure he's
Yeah.
got that on him too, like you said, so he's probably atoning for those sins
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
There's a whole section he hasn't flashed back to, so we don't know, like, what
Yeah,
happened.
we're missing
Right.
that whole chunk of history.
So
Yeah.
that's probably, that would explain a
Right.
lot.
Yeah, and he's, again, you said he's a horse whisperer, which horses are generally pretty good judgments of character. And when Truckee, who's Alice's son, he starts pointing out, oh, he's good with horses. And then he helps him fix the fence, which I have a
Right.
theory as to why, but we'll talk about that in predictions later.
Okay.
So I honestly think that deep down, if he's not genuinely a good guy, it would be one of the biggest twists of
but
the series.
and I think that like if you want to look at kind of a classic aspect of the show in terms of a Western, it's that like good and the evil. So like I think we have to believe that like
it's leading up to this ultimate battle of good versus evil.
Right.
Roy Good. Literally.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly.
So I gotta believe he's good.
Yeah, no,
I wonder if the show is gonna be different though, because like you said, like
plot
this isn't a typical Western, so who knows if it's gonna be so cut and dry, good
I'll
versus
be
evil.
so mad.
Who knows if they're not gonna leave us on a cliffhanger? Like, did he do it? Did he not do it? Is he good? Is he bad? Because it's so like people aren't just good or bad, like, and we're not necessarily just the choices we make either. Like, there's so much to like a person.
Well, and he does say how like he's like that he shouldn't be around Alice, and like he's at first trying to kind of talk Alice out of having him at her ranch, because he says that he's around a lot of bad luck. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely
and I'm gonna mispronounce this, but Iovi. The
grandma.
The grandma or
lover.
I love how she's like talking shit the whole time. Like I can't even remember. He's like, oh, he's simple, and then the guy she's like, he's strong. Yeah. Oh, stray dog. Oh, wandering star.
So
like I love how quick on his
Truckee
feet
comes in
he
and
was.
he's like, I'll be nice.
Yeah. Oh, their chemistry is amazing.
The three of them.
Yeah,
I love
so
everything.
fun.
Their hunting trip was like the best scene in the whole entire show.
I got flashbacks with my grandma speaking Arabic about my friends and being like, she needs to eat more, she's too skinny. And I'm like, oh, like she says you're really lovely. And I'm like, oh no.
Oh boy.
I can't.
But she does say that he stinks of death. So you're probably right. He does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he does have a
He did
history.
that.
So he does have a history. I'm just
Wise
hoping
grandma.
he changes. I don't know if you guys were ever required to watch Shane or read the book in like middle school.
What?
There's a movie called Shane, and it's such a book, and it's all about a ranch hand who's a gunslinger who hides out on a ranch essentially.
Oh.
So I'm getting Shane-esque feelings, especially because Shane he kind of takes the like son of the family under his wing.
Okay.
So I'm feeling references to that.
Cool. Okay.
When it comes to it.
That's look into that.
So Roy is a great character.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the Ladies of LaBelle and go into to episode 2, because we're kind of breaking this down, if you hadn't noticed, by episodes, just to try and keep it a little bit organized, because it can go crazy. So we open up with the Ladies of LaBelle talking about a wonderful, handsome man who's coming to save them and buy the mine.
The handsome man, not so handsome.
Well, that would be because Frank shot the
Right.
handsome man.
Yes.
And we have JJ. What are your guys' thoughts on JJ and his crew?
Slimy. I mean, you don't trust them. I didn't trust them as soon as they, entered the screen, and it just felt like, okay, they're here to like completely screw these women over, and
But also, I think it's just, it happens today too. I think they walked into this room full of women in this town run by women, and they just thought, we have this in the bag. Like, this is it. It was cut and dry for them, but then at least we had a little bit of an uproar, but it wasn't enough.
it was Maggie, basically.
Yeah, it was only Maggie. And then, I mean, the women were kind of with her. But as soon as he was like, don't you guys miss men? Like the warmth of a man next to you, or protection
so
from a man.
Yeah,
but it's the 1800s.
It is the 1800s.
You know, it's so, they're like, oh my gosh, you're right. We haven't had men in here besides the sheriff who's gone. And like, so it's overwhelming.
A true man to take care of.
Yeah, the way he said it as someone that lives now, I was like, what?
So cool.
I know.
We were yelling at the TV.
Exactly.
Don't do it!
I know, our 2017, right?
You are strong.
I know. Our minds are like, this is so wrong, but
then you got to come back to reality and be like, this was the 1800s, so these women have been doing it by themselves.
Right.
So
and they're tired.
Yeah.
They sold off all their four-legged horses.
They're running out of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they also, one of the ladies was saying that basically, like, having all these women without men, it's evil, basically. I can't remember how she worded it, but
it's
just not. Yeah,
well,
it's not what God imagined. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So that's also their religious side is controlling that.
I wonder if Maggie's like tendency to wear the men's clothes now was potentially a factor for these women.
For
Do you know what I mean? Like
What do you mean by
to
factor?
decide to have the men come back.
Yeah.
Because
I see.
in
like,
their mind they would have been
they see
like,
her as a
that's wrong.
replacement.
Yeah. In their mind, and with like, especially with the Bible back then, it would have been
Interesting.
like, that's a wrong
Interesting.
thing.
Yeah, you don't do that.
We're
Right.
straying towards sin.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that absolutely. Like I didn't think of of it being because of Maggie, but yes, their whole like.
I didn't either until
Yeah,
just
the
now.
sin.
But
Yeah.
that's
No.
just hit me.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that could be. I like that.
Which is
Point.
so sad because
But yeah. So I don't think it's just about like that they can't handle it. You know. It's,
They probably
it's-
are tired though, and they've got all those kids, and there's no.
And-
Yeah.
and they're sitting on a mine, and none of them are down there working
It's
it.
a
they
lucrative
don't,
mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have any sort of income coming from that.
Right.
Yeah.
That being said,
Just like natural resources going
Right.
to waste.
Yeah.
right. I think Maggie definitely pushed for the better deal, obviously.
Right.
And I wouldn't have believed a word that drunkard mine engineer said. He was very clearly just a
Sale.
pawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So lazy,
Yeah.
To be like, oh, it's not that great.
Yeah.
You're women, you don't know about that stuff.
We've only lived here for the past year, like making
Yeah.
everything work without you. So.
Yeah, that was
No, that was obnoxious.
that was a rough scene.
Yeah,
It
I
was
know.
a
I
rough
was like-
scene, but I think it was so well done. Like that's probably how it would have gone
Yeah.
down. You know?
I mean, exactly.
Definitely. Which leads into some ranch hands coming through, shooting up the town.
Oh yeah.
And I guess it happens fairly often because earlier Maggie had said, well, we had to run him off again and you weren't
Yeah.
there.
Oh right.
But this time the sheriff is there.
Not that it
Doesn't
goes
do
well
so
for him.
No.
No.
It's another moment
But
of
we're
just kind of
introduced
like.
to like White. Well, we've been introduced to him, but Whitey really gets to
I love his
show his.
name.
Yes.
Whitey.
He comes out there with, like, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I love Whitey. I love that we're
Yes.
introduced to him
Yeah.
in the mirror, like,
It's just exactly what you picture.
Tall, like
Right.
stringy guy. Like who knew?
that being said, I can't ever picture that guy as anything other than the Love Actually kid.
Oh,
that's
true.
that's
I know,
killing
but
me. That's-
he's aged, but his face hasn't changed.
Exactly.
So he's just gotten taller.
That's how I feel about Macaulay Culkin, too.
true.
I'm
Macaulay
like, that's
Culkin.
totally him.
That's really funny.
Yeah, so it's hard to.
Oh, he's so great.
We do have to rewind just slightly because we missed that the marshal has told Bill of Roy and Frank, which leads
Yes.
to Roy
Yes.
turning himself in, and now he's in jail
That's right.
when all of this goes down.
Yeah, so.
For the critical moment that Roy sees that Bill cannot see,
Yes.
which is probably going to come into play at some point
Yeah,
later on.
definitely.
Absolutely.
And in my opinion, Roy calling him out and saying, you can't see the keys
What are
in
you
front
gonna
of
do?"
you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Is actually what pushes Bill into going after Frank.
Yes.
Right. It's his last moment to.
He wants to do
Feel
something
something,
good
yeah.
before he can't see
Can't
and do
see.
anything.
Yeah.
Right. He's
Something meaningful.
Right.
especially because he's been put down so much and he feels like such a failure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. God, he really has a rough deal. Like of anyone in
A lot
this
of these people have
wondering
been
if there's
dealt
like
a
some
very
sort
bad
of
hand.
biblical reference with the blindness thing. Like I kept like racking my brain
Right.
thinking, if
Oh, I'm
there's-
sure there is.
Because I feel like there has to be. Like, I feel like there's so many things. Like, if you watch it the first time through, you're not going to get. Like, I only watched
Right.
it one time through. Bet you if I go again a second
Yes.
time, I'm going to miss all these things.
Right.
that
Oh,
are,
yeah,
like,
there's so many little
symbolic
details.
and, like, meaningful. But you can only piece together if you've seen the entire
Right.
season.
I-
I'm
Do you
sure.
remember? It's the very first scene where Bill is washing the mud from his eyes, and is it the shaman or whoever's helping him with the the cure of his eyes
Yes.
says that Bill has lost his shadow, and Bill's like, well, and he's like, the reason that's bad is because that means you have nothing left
Yeah,
to lose.
nothing
Like,
good about a man with
yeah.
no shadow.
So it's like he really has nothing.
Bill is an interesting character though, because I have trouble liking him because of his
too.
relationship with his kids.
He's flawed.
He's
The
definitely
relationship
flawed.
with his daughter is.
It's
Ugh.
Well, so are we sure that it was childbirth, right?
It's
Yeah.
implied. Like,
it's implied.
That's what
I
I'd
mean, that's-
assume.
yeah.
I can't forgive her for what she
Right.
did to you. I'm assuming, unless she died in some freak accident trying to save
Right,
her. You
right,
know,
Right.
Yeah.
it's just
gotta
back in
be
those days, childbirth
yeah.
would make the most sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do like him, but yes, it's that the moments with his daughter are difficult and hard to understand. The complexity of why is he so still angry with her, and why doesn't she speak? You know, like
right. There's a whole running thing with her not speaking,
so
and
no
her
speak,
being
no
touched
sight.
in some
Interesting.
So maybe there was some other accident or something that with the mom, or something traumatic that happened to her in general.
I imagine, because they keep saying that she's touched, essentially, like she's not
Right.
all there.
Right.
I'm sort of
Complications.
thinking that like the umbilical cord might have been
Oh,
like that from the throat, which would then lead to a
delayed response from her.
and because of the oxygen being,
That's and back in those days,
they couldn't do anything about it.
So that's probably you're right. Yeah.
Which would also lead to the mother's death. So
it's funny how there's all these like there's all these like disabilities with the senses, you know, like or they like the sight or ability to speak.
see no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah.
We just need someone.
I was like trying to
hear.
think.
Yeah.
There are a lot of like themes which we will definitely touch on.
I wonder, like, I mean, the 7 deadly sins are kind of incorporated
A bit,
a little
Yeah.
bit into it. Like, we haven't seen all of them, but obviously
murder.
greed.
We've seen that.
Covered.
Enough for all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
Angry.
deadly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Huh. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I feel like
There are a lot of biblical now that you like keep. I mean, it's called Godless, but
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause that
gonna
was,
go
like, the
back
thing I
for
think
next
is,
time.
like, Godless, if it's named that, there has to be, like, some theme
Absolutely.
of religion.
Which
tied
there
with
is,
lack
like,
of
it's,
religion.
it's a godless country back
Yeah.
then,
Right.
but now that you're saying this, there are, like, biblical references tied in. I'm gonna
I
pay
guess I
attention.
should buy a Bible, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read up
Guess
on that.
we'll have to do some light
Fine,
reading before
okay,
next week.
Right. Okay, so let's jump back to Alice. She cannot break the horses, so she
Right.
decides to break Roy out of jail, which I think is amazing.
It is.
She just walks straight in with that rifle.
And Whitey's like, oh.
Okay. Yeah, and it was believable. Like
It
those
was.
are sometimes that can be a hard
Yes.
moment. I'm like, am I buying this? And I bought it, but I also think there's a respect that like
No.
they're not enemies.
No.
So I think that helped.
I think
Yeah.
that definitely helped.
Yeah.
Well, also, she's taking a risk. I mean, at this point, she doesn't know for sure. She knows he was just, like, taken into custody, and he said he was this,
Right.
and she's like, let
Right.
me bring him back with my family and have him live in my barn some
That's
more.
right.
But she,
She trusts. Maybe it was because
She's a badass
Truckee
woman,
was
yeah.
kind of pushing that.
And probably because he saved the baby.
exactly.
with the
She's
rattlesnake.
seen the good in him.
I'm
but
still so shocked that in this decade, how the women are getting as much respect as they're getting. Like, yeah, they
Yeah.
are self-sufficient, but I'm so surprised that,
it's a little progressive.
like,
some of the
it's,
stuff
it's
that's
crazy.
happening. Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to me because this has never really been shown in a piece about the West. Like,
Yeah.
this has never, like, the dynamic has never been
Right.
shown this
well,
way.
if you think about it, it had to start somewhere, so why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
yeah.
It had to start, and they went through so much stuff, and a lot of the time women did lose their husbands, so you would have to step up. It just wasn't acknowledged.
Acknowledged.
Right. You know, it's interesting. Like we were saying, the show was sort of advertising it to be a bit more about the women than we've seen so far. But I mean, in a way, like as we're discussing it, there are layers that like maybe you don't think about as much because it's not so in your face. But like no, this show really, like you're saying, this does capture a lot of like progressive moments for the women, and there's still 3 more or 4 more episodes for us to see.
I think we're going to see a lot more
yeah,
in terms
so-
of progressiveness. Yeah.
I
And I
definitely
kind of
hope
like
so.
in a way that like they didn't just throw it in your face, you know.
Right.
So
It was
yeah.
more subtle and more realistic.
Yeah.
Definitely. So Alice gets Roy out, and she says, I need you to help me break these horses. And if you do, I will give you one of my whatever best one.
Yeah.
The one you want, basically. And he says, I don't want that. I want to learn how to read, which I think is going to come back into play
Me too.
Interesting.
later
Yeah.
down the line.
Yes. I mean, it's obviously got to go beyond just wanting to read
Yeah,
the letter.
because he might be able to find some sort of code later on, and I don't know,
Yeah.
like reads. I don't know. I feel like
It's also
there has-
kind of sweet. He's like, I
yeah.
just want to learn how to read.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be as simple as that.
No,
yeah.
it definitely ties into
Yeah.
the letter. But
nothing. I've like realized after like watching so much film that like nothing is unintentionally
No,
placed
right,
together.
yeah.
Because because like they specifically shoot it a certain way. Like there's no
they don't
way.
they can't waste their time.
No.
Yeah.
The only time you get a little bit of like, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, is just to add to the character in the first couple of episodes.
Yeah, and
like,
then it's over.
Exposition.
Yeah.
Right.
Learn who your character is.
And now forget about it. Moving
Exactly.
on.
Exactly. It doesn't happen very often, especially not with a miniseries. Such
Yeah, I
as this.
know,
No.
because this is
Yeah.
all you get.
Absolutely.
This all brings us back to Frank. And Frank, for this episode, is on a interesting rampage. He's had his arm cut off, which he took with him.
I was like, did he really? Is that really his arm covered in the like?
I was like, honestly, I wouldn't doubt it, and I was expecting nothing less.
Yeah.
I honestly hope he still has it by the end whenever he runs into Roy, and
like,
I just
he
want him
just
to
comes
I
out.
want him to like slap Roy with the hand, like just like.
But you don't have much back then, you know. You got to hold on to whatever you have, and
right.
if you lost
I
your
mean,
arm,
it is his
like,
property.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But he reads a bad review of
Oh,
himself.
right. Oh yes.
And he
Just a little slander.
just a little bit of slander, and he decides that he's going to go to this journalist and make him write the real story.
Now, does this sound like anybody we know right now? In the
No.
universe? Like, I just can't.
Doesn't ring any
How
bells.
did I not pick up on that?
This guy have
so
like red? Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I honestly
Now I
hadn't
can't
put
look
that
at
together.
Frank ever the
I
same.
know, right? Wow, they were like on it. Netflix was like, we're on this fast.
Yeah.
They
Layer
were.
that in.
So he sort of he doesn't torture this guy, but he doesn't exactly thinly veil his threats either. He wants him to write a story about how Roy betrayed him, which I think we all know it's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like piecing things together right now because you're talking about the whole thing about reading and literacy. I think that there might be like a theme with like looking at a newspaper story and figuring something out about where the outlaws are, like where someone is,
Interesting.
because they could have reported, oh, the outlaws just did X, Y, and Z, and him knowing how to read
Right.
would help him like stay informed as to what's going
Yeah.
on in towns. That's that's smart that like you picked up on the literacy thing, and yeah.
You kind of have to appreciate the journalist for not telling Frank about the tip.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Why do you think?
Especially,
what do
that's
we think
scary. Them all,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'll tell you anything.
Yeah.
I think it's because he didn't threaten him for information. It's one of those, well, you didn't
Yeah,
ask.
exactly. He's like,
Why didn't you tell me about this? You didn't ask
Yeah.
about that specific thing.
that's
Well,
true.
the reporter definitely has. There's a strength to him, a kind of a sleaziness to him, a strength
well,
to him.
deep down, he's a
and-
journalist first, and
Right.
that's the story, and their integrity is like so important to them. So,
Yeah.
and I assume even in the 1800s, as an occupation, you'd think. So maybe part of him's like, I'm still kind of. He even says something. I don't remember the exact lines, but he's like, well, I tell the. It's,
I
is
tell
that
the
sto-
truth.
Yeah.
I
Right.
write the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he was like, well, you are Frank, so maybe.
Yeah.
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 That's an interesting guy.
And so once he's done there, he decides to go torture some Norwegians.
Naturally.
Which,
No big deal.
Easy day.
No big deal. But we did learn a lot about Frank
Yes.
and Frank and Roy's relationship during that.
Which was a good tidbit to get. I feel like it explains the complexity of their relationship a lot more, especially why he's like so determined to find him and everything.
Which,
Absolutely.
in short, it was that his own parents were murdered in front of him, as well as his older sister who was assaulted first, and his younger brother who was
Because he wouldn't stop crying. He was
killed upon a wagon wheel.
Yeah.
And then he says that this guy who is preaching this entire time, they're slaughtering these people, that I'm
Right.
saving you, that you're...
He come from blood? What did he... Something about blood. What was the reference?
I have it somewhere and all this stuff. I don't know if I have that exact one. But it was Pastor Garrett Moore. And it's all about, it's saving the innocents. If you kill them while they're innocent, then
They remain innocent.
they remain
Right,
innocent.
yeah.
That's sort of that sort of concept. And he says that then he was raised by him with the stick, the knife, and the bullwhip.
Yep.
Right.
And that he raised Roy the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
and that's how he learned love, and that's how he
Full
taught
circle.
love.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's such a sense of, I mean, he's obviously feels completely betrayed and
It was like his unofficial adopted son, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And it's interesting that we're seeing now Roy kind of, in a way, adopting Truckee, but using
But
In a completely different
methods.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So somehow Roy, there was, he learned. Where Frank did not learn what he was raised to be, Roy did. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
That.
Sort of a testament to learning from past mistakes and others' past mistakes and growing for the future.
And making your own.
Yeah. We also had, he went off on a tangent about how it is a godless country and how God made the rattlesnakes, which ties back to Roy shooting a rattlesnake,
Right.
like decapitating.
He's shooting God's creation.
Yeah.
To save
Anyway.
another.
Well, that God is, that it's godless because,
It's
if God
godless
God
because
can
there's
create
so
a
much
rattlesnake
hurt,
and evil, then what kind of God is that? There's no one out there to save you or protect you.
We also, sorry,
Except for, in Frank's mind.
himself.
Yeah.
Yes, he's saving.
He's taking the godless path in order to save people for God. I don't know.
He's twisted.
He is twisted.
Yeah.
That being said, we did get a little bit, like a little peek into him. He gets really mad the next morning. He slept with one of the Norwegian's wives, and he gets really mad that they have not fought back.
Yes. Well, that again, I think
Because it
that just
doesn't make
shows-
them a man.
Right.
I mean, kind of. I was like, why aren't you fighting? I mean,
No.
maybe they're thinking ahead that,
They would end
it's
up
going to
dead.
end bad.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I feel like your instincts would overpower any thought process in that moment if I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
if that was like my child or something.
Well,
and I'd be
exactly.
like, what?
He
You
has
don't.
no respect for, he's clearly been raised a certain way, and so that's what he believes to be true. But there's also a level of respect
For
that-
people who fight back.
Yes.
It
and
could
stand
also
up
be
for
like
themselves.
back to him and what he was so young when his whole family was taken from him and the way it was, and he really couldn't fight or stay. And
right,
maybe
or
it,
his
like, ties
family
back.
didn't,
Yeah.
didn't fight.
He just doesn't have respect for cowards, I guess.
It's also another interesting point because in that moment, the woman comes out with a shotgun.
And then she's like, but I'll
She's-
do it.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
go girl.
firing at people.
And then, she's,
she doesn't
there's-
succeed at all,
No,
but
but she
does.
gives it a try.
but she fights,
Yeah, she does fight back.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is, why aren't you bloodied at all?
It's
You haven't
true,
taken
though.
any damage.
You just sat there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I kind of felt the same way.
Yeah.
I
I
was
did
like,
too.
your wife's literally being raped right now, and you're
Right.
just sitting at the campfire keeping your toes warm, so.
Right.
That was awful. Seeing her wake up next to him.
Oh my god.
What do you think the purpose was of that scene?
Of him.
Of like the rape
the
scene?
rape
Like,
scene?
what do you think the purpose
There's
was?
a couple rape scenes that we don't
There
need-
are.
Yeah.
I think this one, I mean, there's never a purpose for it, but I
No.
think it's to show that he craves that the closeness and the love of that sort of
does,
like
yeah.
thing.
The power.
Because he
Or-
didn't,
It's a power
It's a
thing
power
too, yeah.
thing.
because
I
she was
think, yeah.
perfectly fine. She didn't have a black eye, I don't think,
No.
until
No.
she tried to fight back.
Fight.
Right.
So
Yeah, I definitely
he has
think it's a
twisted-
power.
Yeah.
He's always got it. I mean, he's the head of the group.
Especially
and
how he like left it open. Which one of you? You could be
It was a
both. He wasn't like
complete-
that one. It
was a
was like
power move.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was totally.
And look how he's so, contained when he's demanding those things, like he doesn't need to pull out the gun or
No.
yell or get crazy,
Have we seen him lose his cool at all? I don't think we have. Did we?
No,
I feel like there was one moment.
only when he's
I
talking
think-
about Roy, but it's just him threatening people
Maybe-
with
yeah.
that's it.
But
Does he
I-
lose
I
it when he
think
learns about the
sometimes-
newspaper article a little bit?
No, because he says cleanup boys were going into town.
You're right. It's
He's
totally
just-
casual.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah, not in
that's
this-
even
the
more
first
scary sometimes.
It's psychotic.
Definitely.
It's
than
a
get,
bit
like,
psychotic.
I can't remember which actor was saying this. They were saying, I think it was Meryl Streep, who was saying that sometimes when you're trying to play a scene and you're trying to be angry or intimidating, you yell. But the secret is that if you hold back a little and like whisper and lower your voice, it becomes even creepier.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
a little bit
It does
scarier,
though.
even a
Yeah,
little
because your
more
natural
intense.
instinct
Yeah.
is to be
Because
like,
then you have to like your ears perk up and you have to listen more and you're like, oh my god. Versus
you
the
also-
yelling, you want to fight back.
Right.
But it's so much more intimidating sometimes when someone is like stone cold and like kind of lowers
Yeah.
their
Because
voice.
it keeps you on edge. Like, you don't know when are they going to snap?
Yeah.
You're just kind of waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
I was
Right.
curious, like how I would feel about watching Jeff Daniels play a like a
Joey
villain or a bad
Gladstone.
guy, but I'm buying it. I think he's doing a great job.
Oh, he's incredible.
Yeah.
It's cool, like how he could be in the newsroom on HBO
Right?
and then kind of do this. Like he's so
Or Dumb and
versatile.
Dumber.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's so
Joey.
true. Yeah, I totally forgot about
He's a truly amazing actor. And
Yes.
I'm glad they got him
So
for this.
much
I
Right.
really like him in this role. Yes. Perfect.
Okay, so we need to move on to episode 3. Well, we end with him finding or seeing his arm covered in bees, which we should probably come back to bees at some
Pointing
point
to-
because I
Oh,
think
the
that's
pointing, yeah.
well, and I think bees are played in this in a lot, but
They
we'll come
are.
back to it. I'm not really sure what it means
Yeah.
yet.
Could it be like the biblical reference of like,
Like
the
locust?
locust? Yeah, like
Yeah,
could it like?
I
Because
looked,
in that scene prior, he references the locust. This is the country of, yeah.
yeah. So he goes to Olagrand. Meanwhile, we have Bill, who's on his mission to catch Frank, and runs into with his new. He gets glasses last episode, and now he can see, and so he sees everything. Apparently, he can
More
picture
or
the
less,
entire
Yeah.
fight, and he runs into a Shoshone who also says, "You've lost your shadow,"
Yes.
which is another running theme in this.
This has to have some sort of Native American significance. The thing about a shadow,
Right.
it sounds vaguely familiar. I have to look it up though.
We will for next
Could it-
week.
The shadow has to. I feel like the shadow has. Some
Anyone in chat
significance.
now?
I'm like,
I mean, I
yeah.
thought the side,
Let me
yeah.
look.
It's like,
I'll
I
miss
mean,
out
it
if you
goes
know.
beyond just him losing. I mean, he's lost all sense of his self, and this is his opportunity to find himself again if
Right.
he's able to find Frank.
And so he's on his mission, and he sends a telegram to the marshal to meet in Olagrand.
Yeah.
Oopsies.
Yeah, oopsies. That's a bit of an understatement, I think.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And the marshal is currently meeting with JJ and Mr. Logan, and he's saying, hey, I need, you should go back and take care of those poor women in LaBelle. Because they're defenseless against this
They have
Frank
no idea what
character.
they're doing.
Which is a little bit ironic, since I think everybody's defenseless against Frank.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can anyone, like, Creed had men and they didn't stand a
They
chance.
all- yeah.
So,
And
that was surprising, that
Right.
scene.
And the marshal said that he's going for an army. He's trying to grab an army because all of the posses that he can get together have now refused to go after him.
don't blame them.
I don't either. But he's talking to Griggs, which is the reporter, the journalist. And Griggs gives him the tip of Tao. Teo?
Teo?
Languages, guys.
Yeah.
Tomato?
Wow.
Which is
Tao.
super important because, now he has an idea of where to find, who he thinks
Yeah.
where Roy's
Right.
going to be, and potentially where Frank will be going because
Yeah.
he assumes that they're gonna meet somewhere and find it out.
The ultimate showdown.
Yes.
Right. And while
Clearly, we're heading there.
right. And while he's there, he gets the telegram to meet in Olagrand,
Yes.
which he leaves behind.
Yes.
Did you guys think that was a bad idea?
Yes.
I mean,
It's not a good idea.
I don't think
How many
so.
options does he have realistically? Like to
take
Take it with them.
Take it with him, burn it. I don't know. As
Yeah,
a,
Burn it
with
would be
them.
take it with you, burn it a little ways down the road.
Right? But just throw it under some dirt and
or
put
at
a rock
least
over
like
it.
hide it. Don't
Yeah.
just be like, whoa.
it's a telegram that has
no
potential.
matter.
I wonder if he
if they
can-
can't read though. I don't know.
That's true, but
Maybe this is where the literacy
Maybe.
thing comes into
it
play.
does. And I think you also, personally, if I just come out from a journalist who's like, let me have an interview talking about Roy Good and
Yeah.
Frank and all these people, I would be a little bit more cautious
Yeah.
Maybe
if there was any
that's-
sort of information, unless he didn't understand that it was Roy Good that the sheriff was talking about.
That could be.
Maybe.
That could be.
There's something to that I'm. feel
It
like
is.
Hopefully we'll find
We'll
out.
figure
Yeah.
that out. Yeah.
We'll jump back to that in just a minute. Meanwhile, Whitey has a crush.
Oh yeah.
Young
That's
love.
a sweet.
It's a
He's a
it's
terrible,
sweet.
terrible
But again,
violin player.
progressive. That's another progressive
Yes.
because it's
Yeah.
like an interracial
Right.
crush, and it's the 1800s where it's just you get to see little moments of that, which is
Yeah.
really cool for the 1800s.
I'm curious to see where that's gonna go, because in this episode, it's still
obviously not
sweet.
gonna work out easily.
No, but I'm even surprised at how how progressive is, and how kind of that he's even able to enter that household,
Right.
and take those lessons, which they know are clearly
When he shows
not.
up with, I'm like, what's about to happen? What's he doing
Right.
there?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, never mind. He's just getting a music lesson.
A terrible.
Well, it's
terrible-
adorable.
It's his first.
Yeah.
Well, it's
He's so
adorable.
funny. It is
Yes.
adorable. It's sweet.
I think it's more
But
about
it's-
the Buffalo Soldiers.
I
Yeah,
agree.
which introduced
They're
us,
the bigger
yeah.
picture.
They're,
Yeah.
They will be coming into play in some form later down the line.
Yes.
I agree.
I'm not sure when,
Yes.
but I'm assuming they will.
They're important.
They're just trying to live peaceful lives now, and well,
And
I don't
speaking
think
of
that's gonna happen.
cuteness, we've got Roy becoming a father figure, which we sort of touched on a little bit, but he's teaching Truckee how to break horses and ride them. And all
Those
these little
moments are
things.
so great. Like,
They
get
are.
up, get back up on the
Yes.
horse. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that it's so real,
Yeah.
that he's not just, oh, I know how to do this, and that that the Truckee is genuinely, scared. I don't know if you've ever ridden horses, but I can totally understand where Truckee is coming from.
It's a big
that's
animal
it's
below
scary,
you,
yeah.
I
So
think
I
it's
like that.
gonna help later on with him if there's ever an emergency or something and he needs to call
Well, if
for
the
help.
showdown
you can-
goes down in
Yeah.
LaBelle.
Yeah. Like having that skill of
Yeah.
horse riding, horseback riding, to get to a destination, come back, or send a message.
Agreed.
Super
Absolutely.
useful.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna have. There's gonna be a moment where he's needed, and now that he has these skills,
He's gonna use something
that
able
was-
to,
Because
Some
they don't
kind
just
of
put this
wisdom.
in for no reason. I mean, obviously the reason of bonding, that's a
Right,
reason. But I
but
also
no.
think it's gonna
But
have a
they're-
more
the
practical
conversations they're
application.
having too are very words of wisdom being passed down that I feel like are gonna come into play too.
It's also important because they have a run-in with Mr. Logan and his men. And Mr. Logan is a racist, just
Jerk.
all around piece of shit.
In the
Yeah.
1800s, though, really? What?
That didn't exist.
No way.
Everyone was like, yeah, super cool. and
But it also
Love thy neighbor.
open.
Right.
it also leads to a conversation between Roy and Truckee about Truckee's you could have just shot them all, you could have killed them all.
Yes,
And
this
Roy,
is what I was referencing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is when we're learning that he's a little bit more passive. He's on a passive
Right.
path at the moment.
But he's
Yes.
also really skilled with a gun. Obviously, if he took, he took down, what was it, 30 men were with Frank in that first scene.
Right.
And the stories is that he led them all astray, and then obviously they went back. But so Truckee's I don't understand, you're so good with a gun, yet you don't. But his words are yeah, but no matter who has the gun, other people could be in the
Injured.
crosshairs.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that again goes back to, what is this section of Roy's life that we still don't know? There's
know,
clearly a lot of
yeah.
blood on his hands, and now he knows that
Maybe
if
he
he's
accidentally
gonna-
murdered a loved one or something.
something.
Yeah, or
in
a
the
child
cancer.
or somebody
Yeah.
that he was not intending to.
And I also find it interesting that he does have this kind of natural, nurturing father, he knows how to be that father figure. Where did he learn that from? Because
Right.
if his brother was not around and his his family wasn't, he was, raised by
Right. By somebody.
He was raised by a woman.
by a woman. There
That's
you
how
go.
he knows.
We're just gonna touch really quickly. Maggie and Sadie Rose have a sweet little relationship
Progressive
going
again?
on. Again, yeah, progressive, and they're very cute together. And she says, being a whore is makes money
Yeah.
in this time, which was true. They were some of the richest
It is. Yeah.
people even at the
Yeah.
time period.
Yeah, again, another well, I'm repeating it, but progressive.
Yeah, that's what I'm
moment in
saying.
the
It just keeps
show.
coming up, though,
Yeah.
because it is. For the 1800s, it's shocking.
Yeah, it's. I think it's great, and
I think sex has always sold.
Right.
Well, yeah.
It's
you're
just-
right.
the thing is, we haven't seen any sex or sexual.
That's true. There hasn't been any
They kissed,
sexual
but there's
instances.
nothing.
Yeah.
This whole show hasn't had any
Besides
Game of
rape,
Thrones.
only.
Yeah.
besides the worst kind.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, this is the only kind of normal, well-functioning relationship between two, sexual relationship between two people that we see. And then it's
Yeah,
great
but
that
the
it's
show
between two
isn't
women.
built on
It's not built
it's
on
not
it.
built on
No.
sex like
It's
in
not the
HBO.
pen.
Yeah.
HBO is like, we have
This
a
isn't
quota.
HBO.
I honestly feel like HBO is like, okay, we have a quota to meet this
This is
season.
Netflix.
We have to reach like
I mean, Netflix
this
goes there
many.
too, but this show
They do.
doesn't, and it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
refreshing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't need to carry the, like, it's not carrying the story.
No.
So it's not
I
necessary.
know. I was gonna say that. I
Yeah,
feel like,
like-
with HBO, it doesn't help move the plot any further. It's just like,
I
we
know,
have the
like,
quota. Let's meet
let's
it.
just do it,
Like,
yeah.
Sex.
And after all that wonderful cuteness, we rounded out with our Marshall entering a quiet town
Yeah.
and being shot. Which I was so mad. This was the only scene we got between Jeff Daniels and Sam Watterson because they're so good
Incredible,
together.
yeah.
But
I was surprised. I didn't think he would leave the show so fast. I
didn't
didn't
either.
think he would. I mean, I don't know who's gonna survive. Honestly, like, I've got my theories, but I was surprised that he.
That's because you
taken out
don't
so
know
fast.
who's gonna survive.
Yeah.
It's
It's not. I don't,
Wild West.
Yeah, no, I'm worried.
that is the end of the 3 episodes. Do we have predictions for the rest of the show? Which my first question is, or actually, do we have prediction lights? Can we do that? Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Where do you think the money is?
Oh,
Where the horse pen is.
yeah, and
The horse pen?
Remember? Well, what
under
about
their
their coffin? What about the
conversation?
coffin? Do
Or
you remember the coffin?
oh, when he was
I
digging
do,
the
yeah.
When she's like, oh, he took the bones, he dug a grave, and oh, do you remember the name for it? No, I don't remember the name for
That's
it.
a good
but
idea, too,
The
yeah.
he took the bones out, then put the bones back
Yeah,
in.
he took the
It
clothes.
almost sounds like he hid it somewhere that was untraceable. And because he's a horse whisperer, like, he can manipulate what happens by having the horses play dead or do like
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's some sort of like, I kept thinking there's something going on with the horses.
My only thing with that one, and not to shoot down because I think you're on the right track, is that he wasn't shot when he was burying it,
Oh.
or
Oh,
digging up,
it was
right.
and he was
Yeah.
shot
Yeah.
That's right.
when
she
he
didn't say.
That's
stole
why
the
I
money.
think that conversation
order.
is
Yeah.
between him and Alice is
when
really.
they're talking
Could
about
it-
the posts.
Could it possibly have multiple locations and like
Find
him
gold
changing
under
it
the
because
coat.
of
That's
the
I think that's a
instability of-
very significant
you know?
conversation.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't know. Like, maybe it's not just one location. Maybe it's changed.
He could, or it could be multiple.
Maybe it could be under all those
Yeah,
posts.
maybe he-
Yeah, it would be stupid to put everything in one
Oh, it
area.
really
It
would.
would be so dumb.
So maybe he
But
spread
that's
it.
what pirates did, right?
That's right. There we go.
Yeah.
You have to, like, yeah. You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
No, you can't.
You really can't.
Do we have any other predictions for the rest of the series?
I just really hope it ends in a showdown between. If it doesn't, I'm going to be very
Oh,
disappointed.
it has. Yeah, no, it has to.
That's my prediction.
I want them, I know this is
In
so
LaBelle.
bad, but I want them to humanize Jeff Daniels' character. Like, I just want to see more. Like, I don't want it to be
feel
so
like,
like,
yeah.
Like
black
cut
and
and
white.
dry,
I want to
yeah.
see, like, I mean, he was wrong too. He was a father figure. He raised this kid. Like, how come we're all on this guy's side, but
Well,
we're like,
I'd
go
want to
away,
leave
Jeff Daniels.
Frank too.
Well, yeah, but I just want to see, like, I want
Yeah,
it
I
to
get
be more
it.
confusing.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be such a clear good guy
No,
versus bad guy.
I
want
think
it to
it
be
will get
like,
muddy.
you
Which,
know,
and they have, like, they're kind of, it isn't so clear yet, but it is, we're just taking, it's easy to take sides, because, like, look at Roy. But,
Right.
you know, but you're right.
Yeah.
I need more storyline from both of them,
Absolutely.
yeah.
which hopefully we get in the next 4.
Yes, I definitely think they are gonna make it harder for us to take
sides.
sides.
Choose.
Yeah,
Like, maybe
yeah.
by the
And
final
it just
one, you're
makes
going to
it
be like,
better
I don't know.
storytelling.
Maybe that whole thing of, like, the eyes being blind and muddied has, like, this some weird symbolism for, like, we can't see things clearly either.
That's true. And we're all
Right.
going
I
to be
don't know.
shocked at the
So
end.
much there.
Yes.
That's so stressful.
I know. Like, this is wow. Again, I feel like I can. This is like a college, like paper we could be writing on this
Yeah,
show.
it's
For
complex.
real.
Literature class right now.
I was pretty much writing an entire essay
Yeah.
as I was going in. Thank you guys for joining us here on the Godless panel. We have to get out of here. It is pretty late. Thank you so much. I'm Natalee Dyer. You can find me at Natalee Dyer, NATALEDYER on all social media platforms. And my lovely co-hosts.
Thanks, guys, for watching. I'm Ashley Sullivan. You can find me on Twitter at AshleySX.
Hey guys, let us know your predictions in the comments below, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Mina Makes Magic.
And you can find me at Krista Flentje on Instagram and Twitter.
Definitely give us comments, guys. We want to
Yes.
hear your thoughts.
Yes.
For sure.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.